What's up and welcome to another edition of Chat It Up Sports. It is Mocs Softball Weekly, our weekly conversation with the head softball coach from the UTC Mocs, Mr. Frank Reed. We'll get to him in just a moment, but before we do, let me first tell you, you can follow us all over social media at Chat It Up Sports, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check it out there, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those good things, wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. You can find us, again, 5 stars, nothing less. Make sure you tell a friend. And by the way, we kind of do this word with G kind of sidecast. My friend Garrett Tolley came up with that. I like the phrasing of that. A little sidecast to the main podcast. And that's what this is. This is sort of my iteration of the program that I used to do on ESPN Chattanooga and ESPN 1420 back in Louisiana. And we've got a new sidecast that just started yesterday. That would be on Monday. It was dropped, or Tuesday, I should say. On Tuesday, it was dropped. We've got 2 dads on our show. And so they wanted to start a little Dad It Up podcast. So we've got a little new sidecast going on. Again, check that out wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. You can check out Chase and Garrett. They got into the top 3 things that they have learned since being new dads over the first 5 or 6 months or so. But joining us now is a man who's been a dad for a while. And he's also a grandfather. And he has been with the UTC Mocs softball program for the last 24 years. The head coach of the UTC Mocs, Mr. Frank Reed. Coach, good morning. What would be some advice to being a new dad at this point, just to kick off the show, since we were just talking about the new sidecast that we have, the Dad It Up podcast?
My first advice would be cherish every moment because it goes by really, really quick. I remember when I had my first daughter, Amy, I wanted to do everything for her. Unlike the dad that didn't want to change the diapers, I wanted to do it all. And my wife finally told me, you've got to share her with the family. And I said, no, I'm not sharing her with anybody. She's mine. And so I tell that story a lot. But, looking back, you don't want to have regrets. And so I wished I'd have been at that game, or I wished I'd have went to that play, or I wished I'd have taken them to the park, or I wish I'd have been home a little bit more earlier from work, or those types of things. And you think, well, I've got time tomorrow. I've got time the next day. And next thing you know, they're too busy for you. They're into their thing. And, and I said, well, Dad, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And, you want to look back. And I always threatened my kids. I said, fortunately, I worked in government for a lot of years. And so during my time when my kids were growing up, and I always told them, I said, if you ever say that I wasn't always there for you, because I always was, I could just take off whenever to go do the things that they were doing. If it was a make-up softball game in the middle of the afternoon, I could make that, And so I would just say cherish every moment because, you think now that you've got an eternity, and the eternity, it lasts with a snap of a finger.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't last too long. So that's some good advice. Stay in the moment and enjoy it while you have it right in front of you. But let's talk a little mock softball now. We went 4-1 this past weekend out in Florida. Unfortunately, the win streak is snapped. I know we talked about that last week, and kind of jokingly, hey, we're going to lose somewhere along the line eventually. And we ended up losing 2-1 to Siena down in Florida. Bats just couldn't come up with a big hit, but still some good success down in Florida. We took care of some business early on, had to survive there against LIU Brooklyn in some extra innings. But just in its totality, give me your overview on the trip to Florida, what you saw, what you gathered from the 5 games that we played down there as a team.
A lot of talk around the winning streak. We've won this many games, and people kept adding, and what's going to happen. In our sport, you may can go in a football series where you win 10 and win out and don't lose 10 games or whatever. But we play 50 plus games, and somewhere along the road, you're going to have that situation where you're not going to hit the ball, or pitching didn't go well for you, or you're going to make an error or whatever. And so you just be prepared for those moments and just try to play your best every day. And we had that. We didn't hit the ball as well. Pitching was good. We had great pitching in Florida for the most part. And we were excited about, being down there and getting to play some different teams. And, I think we got out of it what we needed to get out of it moving forward. We jump into a midweek next week, and then we start conference play, and it's just a run. And to talk about quickness with having kids, I promise you, though, that time will go really, really quick, and we'll be we'll be sitting there in May. Hopefully, be with an opportunity to, win a conference tournament and go to a regional.
I hope so too, from your lips to the softball god's ears, for sure. I know seems like a constant conversation that we're having, but I just wanted to throw it out there because, again, it's another week, another award for Peja Gould, who was awesome this past weekend again. She just continues to dominate, continues to rack up the strikeouts, all of that. But I want to focus on some of the other pitchers. I know Riley Lamb got a little bit of a run. Alyssa Lavdis pitched a good game against Siena. Unfortunately, that was in our loss where we couldn't come up with a big hit. And then Taylor Long got some innings as well. Talk to me where the other three are. We know where we know where Peja is. Talk to me about your thoughts and your feelings on where the other three are right now.
Well, Taylor come off of a pretty major injury. It was one that we didn't know if she'd ever be able to come back or not. And so she worked hard to try to get back for her last little bit, and she got to pitch out a little bit. But, like I told Taylor, I said, you know what, you really hadn't faced competition. We've played fall, we played some fall games, but just really been out there on a daily grind. You haven't done that. But I see her making progress. Her strikeouts are way up. Her walks are, a little higher than we like, so she would, eliminate some of that stuff with the walks. Her strikeouts are going to continue to come, and and I see her getting better every day. I told her after the Florida trip how proud I was of her, that she's made a lot of progress, and I think she'll continue to move down that path. We're obviously going to need her. She's going to be instrumental in what we do, in conference. And then Riley, I hadn't got as much time. Riley's sort of been trying to figure out her role. She's talked about just being a reliever role, that kind of thing, and we like that. Maybe with her. One thing I stressed to her: if you're going to be a reliever, you almost got to be a little bit tuned to being a strikeout person, because you want that reliever to come in there and is going to do whatever they do to get you out of that inning. Because 9 times out of 10 you're bringing that reliever in a situational thing. Where you got maybe bases loaded, you got runners in scoring position, those types of things, and you need them to step up and get you out of that. And I thought, we gave her a start, and she pitched, I think, 5 innings, and so she exemplified some of those things that we need her to do, moving forward. And I think her confidence level was up too. I think that's what I like to see. And sometimes they don't understand when you talk about confidence level. It's just what you see as coaches, and I don't know that reflects into the stands. Or the people, maybe if somebody close to you would say, well, she doesn't look confident today. But I saw that confidence level that I've seen in her in the past, and I really like that part. And then Alyssa, she, being a senior pitcher, she's trying to do her best. I think she's her own worst enemy sometime when certain pitches are not working or whatever. So, and she gets down. I think she gets down on herself, and that's the one thing that we're encouraging her to do, just to stay up, do her thing, do what she does best. And when she does that, she's exemplified in the past that she can be a great part of what we do, on the pitching, on the mound. So hopefully she's going to continue to do her thing. She pitched, like you said, the game that she pitched was not a game that we probably should have lost. We wouldn't have lost had we been able to put a few more runs on the board. And sometimes that happens. Pitchers, I've seen pitchers pitch lights out and then lose, and it's tough. But I've also seen hitters carry the pitching and get us through and win a game. So it's a combination of the 3 things we talk about. If you put them all 3 together, you're going to have a win. That's the hitting part, offense, then the defensive part, and then being able to hit it defense and do the things that you want, that you need to do out on the field on a day-to-day basis, and you're going to be successful. And we've been doing that for the most part. And that's the reason we had some nice quality wins. We've got great pitching and great hitting, and the defense comes right along with that. So struggled a little bit with defense in our last game. I think that that was a little bit of a concern. One of the things that we need to work on too is our base running. We talked a little bit about that. I'm sure we'll cover some of that in practice today. But I like being aggressive, but I don't like being foolish. So, trying to tell them that if we're having to tell them to react, it's probably going to be too late. So It's got to be something that's just natural for them. We have a couple of kids that do that well. They see something, they take that extra base. They see a change up, they take that extra base. They do things well. And we got some that could be. It's just the reaction time, for them to be able to make some good, really, really good things happen. So, combination. Hopefully, we'll go into the conference and we will play. Well, I'll take, and you have to throw in luck. People don't talk about luck much, and I don't know what you call how you classify luck. Just getting a break, getting this hair, and I think give me all the luck in the world for an entire season, and I promise you, we'll win a lot of ball games. That ball that's supposed to fall falls. That ball that's not, it hits the top of the fence, goes over, still comes back. Different things like that. So, give us a little luck. We'd probably add a fourth thing in there, and with the other things, we could be pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, look, overall, 18-8 as we sit right now ahead of conference, play coming up next weekend. Obviously, I know we have the midweek against Kennesaw, which, by the way, that will be at home. And you mentioned the base running, and glad you said that. I've already texted Scotty, and I had some ideas about some base running things that we can do. So,
one thing I want to point out too. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
Is if we go back to I was looking at stats and going back and just evaluating those 8 games that we lost. If we go back and look at those games, at least half of them, maybe 6 of them, playing today, the team that we got today, as opposed to the team we put on the field then, we don't lose those games. So that tells me that we're making the progress that we need to make, moving forward, and continue to do that. And then you try to prepare kids for conference, and it's just a different world. Everything's on the line. Everything counts. Every strike, every hit ball, everything's counting. And so it's a little more pressure, understanding your opponent and what they're trying to do to you. You want to make it as fun as you can. Just go out there and relax and play, but that sometimes doesn't come with conference play.
Is there anything that you've done over the years, speaking of conference play, going from the first portion of the season where it's a lot of tournaments and it's kind of preseason? I know all the games count towards our record and things like that, but is there anything that you've done over the years maybe different from that first portion of the season to when you get into conference play to maybe help the maybe younger players sort of get ready and transition? Or is that more of, hey, look, the younger players are going to rely on the older girls to kind of help them through and talk about the experiences and make sure that they're ready and prepared?
I think it's more the older players trying to relate. I mean, we can talk about, I've approached it 2 ways. We talk about it a lot, talk about the emphasis and how you got to be, the best every day, come out ready to play. Sometimes I think you over talk it and then they get sort of stressed. And then I've not talked about it hardly at all. And sometimes I think, well, they're stressing the fact that we're not talking about it, so I don't know there's a good answer to that. But I think what they see in the players that have been there, done that, won championship, won a ring, that types of things, and see how they're responding to what we're trying to do. And of course, you got to understand too that hopefully the other side, your opponent, is doing the same thing. They're stressing over playing Chattanooga. We've got a reputation of being pretty good in the conference, so hopefully they say, well, we got Chattanooga today, we're going to stress over that. Well, they stress a lot over that, so that gets in their head a little bit, but trying to just clear ours and understand it's a game. And if we play like you've been taught, limit your mistakes, do the 3 things that we talked about that are important, you'll win the ball games.
All right, talk to me a little bit about Presley Williamson. She obviously, this is the first year that I'm getting a chance to see her play. She was injured last year with a knee injury for the entirety of the season. You saw her obviously come up, help recruit her to come here, and she played a couple of years as well under you, and then obviously before the injury. Talk to me a little bit about the type of person that she is and the type of weekend that she had this past weekend, where I feel like for the second straight week, we kind of got a little robbed in terms of player of the week or pitcher of the week. Presley was not the player of the week for the conference, but she had 4 home runs while we were over there in Florida, a big grand slam that ended up being the game winner in that game against LIU Brooklyn. Talk to me about her, the person, and her, the player, because I know you think very highly of her as the person as well.
I do. And first, let me say this. I think she had 14 RBIs for the time. How do you get 14 RBIs? How do you get 14 RBIs? I'd ask anybody in the country to call in on your show or do whatever they do and explain how you get 14 RBIs and do what she did with a grand slam home run in the last game and not win player of the week. I mean, how do you do that?
I don't know.
I'm not for sure. But anyway, back to reality. She's a great person. I don't know, a lot of people know. We don't talk a lot about it. I try to, if I can, is nuclear engineer, one of our toughest degrees to get here. She's doing all that stuff. She's already got a job waiting on her when she walks out the door. I've seen her stress over the trying to make the academics and the athletics part work. Even now, she's one of our players of two. Her and Aislinn, I think, don't get to come to practice much because they got classes and they're doing their thing. Just, so proud of her being able to focus on what she's doing for the moment. Whether, if it's softball, she's able to sort of set aside, or she's looking like she is, set aside, she's got tons of homework or tons of things to do to get her out and get her degree. But the fact that, she doesn't get to come to practice much, and a lot of her hitting stuff is she's doing on her own. And I think the big thing for me is me and her talked a lot about making adjustments in the box and how they pitch her. And so she can adjust to whatever they're doing so she can make it count either way. And I saw that come to fruition to this weekend where she made some adjustments. And she did on the home run before, and I think the day before, and then she did on the grand slam that she hit. Was tremendous. And I think that this shows that she's able to put that thought into what she's trying to do at the plate. She's transitioned from a catcher to just a DP because of the injury. And I think she was sort of worried about, am I going to be able to hold down that DP role and be able to do the things that I want to do my senior year? And obviously she's proved. We got some other kids that are good hitters too that could slide in there, but she continues to push them back and say, no, that's my spot. I'm going to do whatever it takes to win for the team and make those adjustments. And I think that comes, her adjustment making decisions, I think comes from maturity as well. Just maybe having to make decisions from an engineering side of the coin, where she's having to, look at an engineering solution and trying to figure it out and how to get to the point A to point B. And I think she's maybe been able to translate some of that from the hitting side as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. She leads the team currently with 24 RBIs, second on the team with 6 home runs, and third on the team in doubles with 6 as well. So incredibly proud of her, the way that she's been able to work kind of on her own. And I think a lot of us were maybe a little concerned, a little worried about how it would translate to real games, since as you mentioned, she wasn't able to come to practice with her workload and her schedule and things like that when it comes to the classes. So incredibly proud of Press for having the weekend that she did and having the season that she did. As you mentioned, there's hitters behind her, where whether it's Abby Bunt or Bailey Pitts or anybody else kind of vying for that DP role. And as you mentioned, Coach, she's been able to fight it off every step of the way and has been a big part of our lineup this year and has added some of that power that we lost, in Kendall and Meat Pie and Addie from last year. So that's been awesome. And you and I talked last week about getting more opportunities for maybe an Abby Bunt or a Bailey Pitts, and getting Bailey Pitts going and trying to find some more power within our lineup in that regard. But we were kind of dealt a little bit of a blow. Aislinn Sellers couldn't play for the entirety of the weekend. So Bailey Pitts getting an opportunity to come in and play first base, and she ends up having a huge home run that ends up being the difference maker in the game against Central Michigan. She had a couple of other big hits. She hit the ball hard even when she wasn't getting hits. Talk to me a little bit about Bailey Pitts and her taking advantage of her opportunity this past weekend.
You got to love Bailey. If she's stressing over, like I've talked to her about, you're not in the lineup. We put her in the lineup last year as an outfielder to get her bat in there, and she knew she was an outfielder, and we make defensive changes as we went along. And actually made a change in the conference tournament that really helped us get to win the game when we took Bailey out and put Abby Orr out there. But just being ready at the moment, we said, hey, Ace is down. We've worked you out at first some. You're going to be our first baseman. She doesn't look like your typical first baseman, but she went over and did a great job. Handled most of the throws that we were sent over there to her, and then produced, I think, right out of the chute, I think she got a double or hit a line drive up the middle, scored an RBI. So now, you're thinking again, you got to keep her back in line. You got to get Ace back in there as well, because, she's as one of our second leaders in RBIs. And so how do you block the lineup? But, you put people in to fill holes, and then they do well. So now it's a good thing, but now how are you going to match all that up? And hopefully it works out to her good. I don't even know today, if I made out of the lineup, how I would do it. I mean, we're pretty locked on the lineup, I think, so far, but I'm not sure exactly where I put everybody right now. But that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can we'll get a lot of good more play out of Bailey. And she's caught, she's played first, she's played in the outfield, so she's that kid that can do just about anything for you, and does a pretty good job at all of them. Like probably her true position is behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
We got Jace Purdy back there who's been doing a really good job for us too. So just trying to find that time.
Yeah, no lollygagging around for Bailey as she's been working while she's been waiting as well. And that's one thing we've been kind of really preaching to her is, yeah, obviously she was disappointed that she didn't get an opportunity. Well, no, she did get an opportunity. She didn't take advantage of her opportunity early. And then she kind of got relegated to the bench a little bit. The defense in the outfield was a little bit shoddy. So, again, just really proud of the way that she's responded and when she's gotten this second opportunity, how she's taken advantage of it. And it's exactly what you need to do. One more lineup question I wanted to ask you just real quick, because I know on Sunday we made a little bit of a swap, a change in the top two in our order. Usually it's Kaylee Snell, then Cam Cernudo. On Sunday, you made that change to put Cam first and Kaylee second. And I know Cam has had a really nice season. She's hitting near 400. She's been pretty good in RBI situations when she's had that opportunity. Kaylee's been struggling a little bit from a hitting perspective and not really making the necessary adjustments that, I know you've preached to her a lot and we've talked a lot about it with her. But what was the thought process behind making that change from switching Kaylee and Cam?
I think for me, just to take a little pressure off of her, to feel like, she's here I am, I'm leading off. I need to make something happen. Cam's behind me. Cam's going to push me over or do something, And so I felt like it was an opportunity for her just to relax a little bit. I'm not sure that happened. I felt like she carried some of the pressure on her. I think she's trying to play like a fifth year senior or whatever you call them, fifth year, and she feels like she has to be at a higher expectations. I not understand, and sometimes I don't think she understands that it doesn't matter what you're freshman up to a senior or even a fifth year. You're going to have your days, you're going to have your moments, and so the struggles have sort of compiled with her a little bit, but I think the time just to breathe and understand that she's going to still be a vital part of what we do in the lineup, and just don't overthink it. One of the things we talk about is don't carry your at bats to the field or don't carry your field to the at bats. And I think she's done that a little bit, which cost her to make an error there in the last game. But fortunately, our offense picked her back up. It's what you're supposed to, pick up your teammates. And we were able to still win that ball game. But she needs to just relax. Talk to her a little bit about it today. Just relax and enjoy, have fun. It's a lot like being a new dad. You want to take advantage of your opportunities because they go fast. And when you start counting down the days, and when you walk out there and you hand the ball back to the coach and say, I'm done. I can't play no more. That's when it hits you. What would I have done different? And that's one of the things I want to talk to her about today. What would you do different this last part of the season or the last 3 quarters of the season to make your time out there what you want to look back on and say? Because when you get 50 years old and you're telling your kids, your grandkids, or whatever, you played college softball, you're not telling them that you made an error or you hit a home run. You're going to tell them the experiences you had with your teammates, and hopefully you've won a championship, or and the enjoyment of getting the education and how that puts you in a situation where you could be that grandparent that's going to be there for them. So I think that's one thing that we need to look back on. We need to look back on as individuals. We all get caught up sometimes in the moment, not understanding that moment really doesn't mean a whole lot once you get down the road, But so we're all going to make errors. We're going to make errors in life. We're going to hit home runs in life too, right?
Yeah.
And so hopefully we hit more home runs or drive that runner in life more than we do, but more than we not. But I think it's the fact that we're still pushing to be able to do that on a constant basis.
Yeah, it's not that you're never going to go through hard times. It's when you go through those hard times, how do you respond? How do you deal with it? And I thought Kaylee came back really well from that error that she made at Stetson. And now I have confidence that she'll be able to come back and she'll be, fine coming back from this mistake that was made in that game against LIU Brooklyn. And it wasn't a bad play. It was, hey, ball in the hole was going to be a tough chance. She made a high throw, and that's what it was. And it's unfortunate that it happens. But again, as you mentioned, errors and things like that, miscues are going to happen not only in softball, but in life. And again, it's about how you deal with that adversity. All right, Coach, my last one for you. We like to keep it light, like to keep it fun. So the last one I want to ask you is, we've been doing a lot of traveling here lately for the softball team between midweeks and the last couple of weekends to Gardner Webb in North Carolina, and then obviously the spring break trip to Florida. But I want to take it away from softball. As a person yourself, whether it was a family trip or a trip that you take in on your own, what was your favorite memory of traveling that didn't have to do with softball?
Well, you say not softball, and I've enjoyed all my times when I coached with Team Dominican and all the places we got to go, and Team Mexico. But I guess outside of softball was, and it's sort of softball, but sort of not. I think in your life, when you're involved as I am, everything's around softball. But
yeah,
I can remember coming home from a recruiting tournament, and I made a friend from, you got that recruiting person who's all the upfront person that's always, hey, recruit this kid. Talk to them about that, and they're telling you about the kid, and hopefully you were in the recruiting. And as it worked out, we did recruit a kid off that team, and I know he doesn't want me to mention his name. So I get back the next day, and he said, when do you guys take vacation, or what do y'all do for fun, or whatever? I said, well, fun's pretty much recruiting and not much vacation time. And he said, and so I didn't know where he was going with it. And so I get back home, and I get a phone call from him. I'm thinking it's about a player. And he said, I got some time. I got a double condo over in Hawaii. And he said, I want you to take it. I'm going to give it to you. All you got to do is get there. And Maui. And so I said, are you serious? He said, no. He said, I appreciate you recruiting my team. I really got to know you and enjoy spending time with you. And I want you to have this vacation.
Wow.
And so I couldn't get all my kids there, because my younger daughter taught, but my older daughter and her family, me and my wife, we went to Hawaii, and all we had to do is get there, and that was a really fun time. I obviously had never been there at that time, and so it was fun getting to go over there and spend that time and knowing that somebody appreciated the fact that we recruited a kid off their team, and at that point we hadn't even confirmed that. It was later on that we decided that we were going to be able to. She decided to come here, but great organization is mentioned from. And I'm sure they don't want me to mention their names, but anyway, somebody asked me in private, I'd tell them. But yeah, that was such a fun trip, and that was probably my favorite.
That's cool. I mean, first of all, incredibly generous of them to offer that up to you and to allow you and the family to go there. And second, I've never been to Hawaii, but I've heard fantastic things about it. So what was your favorite thing about Hawaii when you went?
Well, the beaches are crazy, just to be able to spend time there. There's a road to Hana. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Mm-mm.
So you drive through, you see through the mountains, and you're seeing all the oceans and stuff. And we rented a Jeep, 4-wheel drive Jeep, and so we were able to do all that stuff and go to wherever, however far you could go, and then come back, and then just stop and eat dinner. So that was the most fun part of being there. And of course, there's a lot of activities around that, but I think that road to Hana was the most fun for me.
Also, speaking of your family, did I not see that it was Dana's birthday a couple of days ago?
Yeah, just the 10th.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Happy belated birthday to Dana.
Yeah, she's getting old. I told her she's catching up to me. But yeah, she's been a blessing as well with her family, and Amy is my other daughter as well. But yeah, she's sort of followed in the footsteps of softball, being a softball coach, and her granddaughter playing ball and all the things that she did. And you mentioned my grandkids, and then I got the 5 grandkids, and I got 2 greats. So
wow,
yeah, getting old.
Yeah, hey,
enjoy the moments though. You won't have those, down the road. So
exactly, enjoy them while you can. Coach, it's been a fun conversation, as it always is every single week. Again, follow us all over social media at Chatted Up Sports, and get us wherever you get your podcasts as well. Don't forget the Chattanooga Mocs softball team. We will be home next Tuesday against Kennesaw State at Frost Stadium. Come out and support the Lady Mocs, the softball team. The coach and I were just looking up the weather before the show, and it's supposed to be high 60s and sunny that day. So come on out. It's going to be a good atmosphere, and we're going to kind of gear up towards conference play. UNCG will be here.
One other thing, too, it's championship ring day. So if you come, you get a championship ring. So it's pretty cool. So I don't know how many.
What, they get one of these? What do you mean?
Yeah, they get a replica of the championship ring. So they'll get that at the It's not exactly like that one because those are pretty special, but
Yeah.
it's a nice ring. It's a really nice ring. So if you're wanting a copy of that or a duplicate of that, similar, I don't know. You got to be the first hire of me through the gate, but I'm sure they'll have quite a few there to hand out.
That'll be a fun promotion. I'm sure all the kids and maybe some of the parents will enjoy that as well. So come on out on Tuesday against Kennesaw State. Get yourself a championship ring. We will focus more on UNC Greensboro next week when you and I chit chat. Coach, I will see you out at practice. Thanks so much for the time as always.
All right. Have a great day. See you soon.